Hello again. Now, last year, KwaZulu-Natal witnessed the worst floods since severe tropical storm Dan Moyane of 1984. Hundreds of people lost their lives, some bodies were never recovered, and graves were uprooted. Now, culturally, how does one find closure when a body has not been recovered? How do we mourn and remember people who died like this? We're joined by Cultural Expert Sihawu Ngubane from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time, Mbomvu. It's a difficult one to imagine because every family will have certain rights culturally to perform to honor the spirit of a departed loved one. But many families in KwaZulu-Natal, a year on, cannot do that. How can they cope with such? What could they do?
I think, as you said, then it is a critical and a complicated situation because the philosophy of African people is that they must perform certain rituals so that
okay,
they can...
Mbomvu, before we continue, you need to switch on your camera there so we can see you. We can hear you loud and clear, but there you are.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Mbomvu. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I was saying that it's an African philosophy that the person who dies in an accident or dies through a weapon, the spirit of that person needs to be brought home. And that's when the spirit has been brought home, there is a belief that he is joining the family ancestral line, and that's when the closure can be put. But in this case, it is quite a difficult one because some of these bodies have not been recovered. So people don't even know the location of where they disappeared to. So it is quite difficult to do that rituals of fetching their spirits back home. So it is a very, very complex situation.
Is there anything else that they could do close that will bring it close to them, honoring that memory and ensuring that the spirit rests in peace?
Yes, there are quite numerous ways that they can conduct these rituals in the absence of the bodies, but this must happen after a certain time, like a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, when they completely accept that they will not find the body, then they will bring the clothes of the departed person into the house, and then they burn incense, and then they communicate with the ancestors that we would like you to accept his spirit, because there is a belief that any person who dies must have a proper burial so that his spirit is known where it is going to, back to the ancestors. But if the body is not found, it poses that complexity, and that's why they should try some other means of using the utensils or anything that the deceased person has used during the time when he or she was alive, and then they perform that in their absence. Because when you communicate with your ancestors, it's like you are praying to God. You don't have to bring the body because the body is there, but you will have to make use of umlahlankosi, the branched leaf that you often use to fetch the spirit. Then you perform the rituals, which includes slaughtering a goat and also preparing traditional beer. I think, but this cannot be taken in haste. So it means they need to wait for a while, because there is still some element of hope that they might still recover these bodies.
So even after 1 year, it might be too soon. What's even more difficult for many families in KwaZulu-Natal are those who buried their loved ones, performed the necessary rituals and all of that, and the graves were also washed away. I mean, that's a very difficult one to also grapple with.
Yes, it is complex and difficult because these people were buried properly, and now the floods flooded the graves, and you cannot even trace the remnants of the deceased person. But I think you can apply a similar way to say this has happened, and then you report to the ancestors that wherever they are, because the spirit would have already been accepted into the ancestral line. I think it's about what people believe.
Yeah, and I guess some families, Mbomvu, will do things differently, but there's a common denominator, and that is the one of ensuring that you bring the spirit back home so that it can continue to rest in peace. How far can you stretch this? Can you do such a ceremony after 5 years, for example, from the time when the loved one disappeared?
Usually, if it's the head of family, after a year, this ceremony is performed because it is known as ihlambo. Ihlambo is when you bring back the spirit home after a year. That is under normal circumstances.
Okay.
When someone has been buried, then you bring his spirit to look after the family.
Yeah. Okay. If it was a child.
If it was a child, that ceremony is not performed because the main purpose of bringing the spirit is for the head of the family to continue his duties to look after the family, because it is believed that he's more powerful because he's now close to the ancestors. So he's more powerful than when he was still alive.